the situation of the country. And part of that is, why is it critical for us to speak out? Just as I just stated earlier, is because of the condition our people live in. It's because of the lack of future for that country. It's because of we are citizens. It's not only that we have rights as citizens, but we have duties as citizens, and we need to discharge this duty. And as citizens, we need to look after each other. The fortunate ones, or the people that have the means, people that that are affluent, people that are, whatever blessings that you have, you need to spread that. And the most important part of that is how to make sure everybody else have the opportunity, have their rights, and they have the opportunities are created for them to meet their potential. This is very important. It's about social justice. And for the Abrahamic religions we follow, being Islam, Christianity, and others, Judaism and others, will always preach. And the main point of the religion is about social justice. The prophets that we talk about, what they did was to fight for equalities of people and for the progress of nation or civilization. Then it's our right to speak out. In many times, there are many answers that we can come up with to say why we should speak out. But to draw it down to point, I would need to say that it's quite obvious that this government, as I presented yesterday at Freedom Radio, are out there to silence. They're out there to silence their critics. Why would they want to do that? Because in order to continue the mistreatment on Gambians, the order for them to maintain their lifestyle, for them to keep the power which they use to abuse us, they would want us to be silenced. They would want us to be divided. This is the only way. They want to take the power we've vested on them and use that power against us. Because the power they have, be the executive, the responsibility they have as our representative at Parliament, the judicial arm we have, and every other institution is ours. We elected them, we appointed them, we pay their salaries, we do all that so that we can have an effective governance. We give them powers with limitation so that we can have effective governance. Once we have that, obviously we have a responsibility to monitor. Something you don't monitor, you can't control. Something you don't monitor, you can't control. You can't manage. That's why this monitoring process is this engagement we have in many ways we do it. And that's why people form political parties as well. That's why people organize themselves into civil society and others, because these are the governance mechanisms we have. We have the public, we have the civil, the civil society, to hold, and the private sector to govern a country. That's what governance is about. And we will find out that in most cases what happens is power goes to the politicians, the government, they form a government, and what they forced to do is to have a coalition. They have built an alliance with the private sector. They become their financiers, they become their financial backers, they become their money launderers, they become everything. And they use that money and the power and the money, and they buy out civil society, and they buy out the other arms of governments in existence, the judiciary and others. But again, this is the same way. They'll go out there to induce the fourth arm of government, which is the press for that matter, the media and the press, they will do that. And any other influential, as we know now, part of this arm would be social media. That's why you see them. They would invest a lot to buy influencers and so on and so forth, or media presence on social media in order to control. And these are all facts that we see out there. But recently, they will go on to legislation, to legislate laws in order to silence people. Not only the inducements, we have the evidence of the inducement. They came out, they used our money without authority and buy out and pay press houses, selected press houses, for what? Content creation, for what? To give them media space. Why would the government compete with its citizens for media space? When they have all their spokespeople, they have, how many media arms do they have in the government? It's not enough. They have to come to the civil society, to try to buy it out. What do they have to hide? We should ask. But again, it's the same thing. If you look at it, to the extent of passing on another inducement. Now, furthermore, it's not only that we are giving out money, we are going to give you land. Why is the government so particular about the press having the capacity, the land, the things, and nurses, doctors, teachers, and so on are not particular about that? Gambians should be reminded, and it's sad because it's as it did not happen. I can tell you, some people might not even believe it happened, that for this government, they went to parliament, and that parliament passed a budget, and part of that budget is to increase the allowances, the housing, the transport allowances for civil servants. Guess what? The government decided not to do it. After they prepare a budget estimate and took it to the state. It did not become a priority, but other things became priority. They can go and take loans on top of loans, even they are heavily indebted, in order to buy vehicles for one day so that they can squander. Because buying vehicles is a means for them to enrich themselves more, inflate invoices and make money, and inflate invoices so that they can get that money to again send to their political machines. That's their political parties, NPP. We see their interest again, because they need to strengthen, and they believe that is the money, our money, that they need to put in to the politics to strengthen themselves in order to continue to govern us. It's not about delivering projects, programs, engaging us, communicating, winning our confidence for us to influence us to support them. No. This is how they're going to treat us. And why, again, we've seen all that evidence. We ask ourselves, why would they do that? Again, you will think that if they take our money, do all these things, then us, the people, should be aware of this, that they fail to pay our allowances, they pay for increase our allowances, the cost of living is hitting us like nothing. The standard of living is getting worse in the Gambia today than ever. And you think if a government does that, obviously then the government is foolish to think that they can go and pay press houses and continue to govern us. Yes, they'll take the chance, because in most cases they get away with it for some time. But they are not smart enough to know that they can't do it forever, because they would have learned from where they follow in, for that matter. They will have learned from Senegal. We all had the revelations in Senegal. How many billions of SEFA press houses from Youssou N'Dour, who we thought was ethical, and all the things he have, from all these major press houses in Senegal, none of them, they entirely, they all own taxes that they have been paid. And in fact, not only that, they have been induced by governments. And no wonder they were harsh critics and they give platform to any non-entity against the opposition in Senegal, especially passive, that had the potential to dislodge, and they've proven themselves they have dislodged the system, not Macky Sall, the system. Yeah, we ask that ourselves. That's what they will do. Because for them, they will buy the press houses, they will buy airtime, or whatever you call it. And the content they're talking about is they create content that will divide us. Because only by making people ignorant, not trying to drown out reasonable voices, critical voices and everything, drown that out with all that distraction they will create, and which again they learn from Senegal, they call it, create a diversion, distraction. People like to talk about lives of others and the things, but forget about what really impact on their lives. That's why they will pay this pressure. We have seen it last elections. They're banking on all this. Where they would divide us according to tribes. They would divide us according to political party. Even within the opposition become started to oppose the opposition rather than the opposition opposing the political party in government. Because of what they created. That's why they're doing it. But they are not stopping there. These people are going to the extent of creating laws. The laws in the Gambia we still have the draconian laws from colonial to now. Our laws have not been improved. No. Instead of improving our laws, getting rid of all this, bad laws in our system, no, they're creating more laws to what control us. Because what do they have to fear? Because they know that once the people are aware, they will not survive. They're scared. They're scared. And again, you see, history keep on repeating itself. One of those doctors, Dr. Amadou Skarset Jane, he was in the diaspora here. He was in the diaspora here, part of Gambia, very critical. They created Gambia, very, forward-thinking, very progressive. When I can just technically, there was no community African community in the diaspora that had an online platform that discussed those critical matters about their country. Guess what? It's become a political leverage for some. And some of them ran to Germany. And the same Dr. Jane was used to introduce media laws. Because he was taken to the communication ministry. The reason they do that is, the reason they like to take someone from the opposition, put them to be the propaganda face of that party, it's to say that let's discredit the others. Because they will say, oh, the reason they're talking is because they're not here. Once they're here, they will talk something else and discourage other people not to follow critical voices, thinking that everybody within the critical environment would be just looking for leverages, or to be induced or to be transferred to the government. But that's, for them, that's an effective way of getting all these people who were saying negative to come and start to spin positive. Yes, it works for the non-critical mind, but it's easy now with social media to debunk it, just as Dr. Cisse is finding out now. Now we saw Dr. Cisse run to the government, and now he's the communication chief of the government. Now this guy is contradicting himself, every other minute, and seamlessly continuing as nothing have ever happened. And some Gambians will be surprised why this is happening, thinking that no, this cannot be true. I'm not even going to get to talking about the likes of, I need to just share this. I'm not even going to talk about the likes of Sabali. Because it's the same thing why they brought them over. Just a snippet of Dr. Cisse. You hear this guy, over 12 months ago, and now.
When did this NPP government come to government that now they are showing us that they're richer than anybody else in this country. Brand new pickups, big events in the millions, paying politicians millions to come and join them. Where is the money coming from? Gotta go and have a look. Politicians have made so many promises and have failed the Gambian people. Therefore, if you come as a politician, you start talking, they'll always categorize you as that. But just give us the chance, and we will not fail. My only problem with this government is three things. The lack of the political will to fight corruption in this country. Okay. Two, the failure to pursue the reforms that they promised us. And three, the lack of a vision to tell us where this country will go. Just look at the budget today. How much is allocated to agriculture to feed the nation? And how much is allocated to office of the president to feed the president? You be the judge. How much is allocated to office of the president? I leave it to you. You answer. It's much more than how much is allocated to agriculture.
Now, that's maybe to get that. Just see the hypocrisy in these people. He said, oh, this is why we don't trust politicians. Over 12 months ago. Now you are doing exactly that. What have changed under Barrow? Barrow is still having the same budget, even more. The same Barrow government have just denied the poor Gambians, civil servants working hard, the nurses, doctors, teachers, soldiers, police officers, and everything. Because they will get away with it. In other countries, you dare not. Services will stop and they will ask you to get out. Which is right, because they put you there for their welfare, or for the entire welfare of the people, not for your welfare. But because if they can divide us, they are confident that nothing will come out of it. Then they'll continue doing it. What's different? And people like Doctor will tell you, no, they go to join government to work for their country. It's not true. What have changed? It's the same government that a few days ago bought how many vehicles? And probably they gave him one of those vehicles for a day, for one day event. Went and borrowed over invoiced vehicles, and he must have got one of those. Because he wanted a lifestyle. He went to politics for a lifestyle, and now he has achieved that lifestyle. But he will continue to want to tell us lies, thinking that that's propaganda. And if we are quiet, people like this get away with it. That's why we will hold them accountable. And that's why I said that we should not be silent. We're talking about laws. These people trying to put these things. Now, this same Dr. Cisse is going to go to Parliament trying to put in a law, to pass a law in Parliament for whatever it is. They don't want to say they don't want to say the insult bill or anything. They're trying to mask it for that they're doing it for good reasons. They're not doing it for good reasons. We have enough laws. I am not for anyone to be insulted. I am not for anybody's private life to be exposed or anything else. There are laws to deal with that in that country. It's not about that. Look at the fine line. Read between the line. It's about to silence critics. It's about to silence critics. To an extent, it's not even that. Certain laws are anti-democratic. They cannot be constitutional. Our constitution is there to empower democracy. If this government started from coming as a coalition, been with a manifesto to say that all these draconian laws have to be kicked out, and even measuring it, giving a timeline, 6 months before in office, we're going to throw this unprecedented Barrow propaganda on this to come to power. No, now they're introducing more laws, struggling to kick out the other laws. Now they're adding onto that because they have something to hide. And Dr. Cisse will be the same person now to take it just as Dr. Jane, Secretary Jane did it before, and pass it through Parliament. And the friends of Dr. Cisse will come and say, oh no, it's different. It's because of people who insult. Because how many people insult on social media? Tell me, how many people insult on social media? And if they say insult of elders, how many people insult elders on social media? Because even if you bring it to that, you listen. Because most people insult each other on social media, which I don't encourage, and people who encourage it, we all know. We have to understand that social media is about monetization for some people. And insult, yes, and whatever you call it can be monetized, and I can tell you, people are making a living out of that. That does not make it right. Can you legislate against that? Who is going to determine what constitutes insult? If I call President Barrow hypocrite, would that be constituting insult? I can be charged under the law they're trying to bring out. Now, it's for me to go to court to prove myself. Why would a citizen go through a process to the court, wasting court time, resources, and his time and everything to prove something that doesn't exist? Something that doesn't exist. That's what insult. Because, are they going to put a definition, every word that will constitute an insult? What context are they going to judge that word to be an insult? Remember, we have different languages. Who is to qualify what is right from one language to another? We have priorities. Why are they not legislating things that empower people? Because if you talk about general terms, it's still a small percentage that will go out because of, and even you legislate that, people will insult. Because we legislated for many other things and still it's committed. Those crimes are committed. You can't manage it from legislation. No, that's not the interest. Let's bring it down to where that we think they're pushing it to. According to the IGP, Sure, the Inspection General of Police, or people who insult elders. You see, again, that's where the problem comes in. Would they ever, have we ever seen them prosecute anyone that's part of the government or part of who supports Barrow, part of the government who supports Barrow, or people that are within Barrow's political party? None, absolute. Who do they try to prosecute all the time? The opposition and people with critical voices from the civil society to the media. They are the only people. Dr. Banja was a scapegoat, and guess what? He's already out. If the law was applied, as we expect the police to apply it, Mile 2 will have emptied all those small criminals out and send them to the right place, rehabilitation, to rehabilitate those youths, their lives, and fix so that they can be productive. And all these big criminals that are killing people in the sense of the corruption that is that have bankrupt our medical health service and the productivity of our agriculture, the standards of our schools, affecting standards of our schools, and other things would have been felt. They would have filled that Mile 2 and Janjamburi, but we will not see them to the courts. Let's just even call them the big fish. Which government have ever sponsored, paid, created a platform, a government for those people to insult their opponents? It's the Barrow's government. Just as it happens in Senegal. People, they buy them air tickets, they go to Gambia just to insult. Because we all know that all those people are novice if it comes to politics. All they have is a mouth to be filthy, to insult, and to tell lies, to divide us along tribal lines. That's all they have. They are not political heavyweights or nothing. They are novice in politics. They don't know political history of the Gambia, or they don't know political history of any country. They have zero gravitas when it comes to politics. But why do they invest in them? Because they will do things. They will insult their opponents. They will tell lies. I won't give them that dignity of even calling their names. We all know who we are. We all know who we are. We see them giving television platforms, insulting political leaders. And we know why they're doing it. And after that program, went on to political rallies in Banjul and other places and share the same podium with the president. And stand before the president and continue doing it. We have seen that. Would that government turn around to tell you, oh, we want to now regulate insult? Probably it's regulating insult that they would be the only one giving the approval to insult. As I said, I'm against insult. I won't do it, I won't encourage it. I won't even pay back if people insult. Because something must be wrong with you to insult me. Why would I waste my time? Why will I give you that attention? But that doesn't make it right, and I am not encouraging you for this issue, but we are saying that this government is doing it for other purposes. It's not about the insult or anything, it's about targeting the opposition and the critical voices. Part of that legislation, if you give me a minute, part of that is somewhere, just a minute. Part of that legislation, it says, a key provision of the cyber bill is spreading false news online. Interesting, Article 6.2 provision that unless reasonable measures are taken to verify the accuracy of the information or news, it shall be no defense that a person charged did not know the information or news was false. Do you know what is this similar to? This is what they did to Sonko. Because of one of the laws crafted by Macky Sall was that information that you share, if you cannot prove it, and the burden of the proof, obviously is on government. Now, but if you again prove it by bringing the material evidence, you have broken a law. Now, Sonko knew that it was a fact. Sonko knew that probably he can even access the evidence, but if he produced the evidence, in fact, he'll be dealt with heavier than even not just, producing evidence. This is a bad law. And this is for people like me and Madi Jobates and others that will be critically holding them accountable, and other members of the press. This means that the drafter of the bill require online publishers to strictly adhere to accuracy, which is a fundamental principle of journalism. What this point to is the expectation for even social media users to abide by journalist ethics. Here, I believe that the principle can be used to target specific users on social media. This is written by Suleiman Bukariba for that reference. It's an article by Suleiman Bukariba. This is what they're doing. But again, as I said, it's a matter of to silence people. Because what will happen is, you will say that, look, hence there's a law about this. Now, things that I have to put out there, everything, look, this is, once you want to go through that process, what it does is shut you down. Self-censor. And for any mistake you do, they can just pick you up. And why would a citizen just be picked up? What's the government have to fear? We should concentrate on the serious matters. There's an incitement of violence. The president incites violence every time he takes a podium. Every time he incites violence. He did it during the mayoral election. He did it few weeks ago. And if people respond, those people are picked up. Those people are picked up. That's what I'm saying is, that's why we need to speak out. They can't silence us. They want to silence us to protect themselves. Why? Now, let's come to this final why. Because they're in fear. You see, the reason dictators start from silencing people, it's a strategy to entrench themselves. Because they lack legitimacy. That's I keep on saying this. If Barrow happened to come to government through the barrel of the gun, Barrow would have been worse than Yahya Jammeh. Because Barrow is trying to get to where Yahya Jammeh has been. He has already passed Yahya Jammeh in the form of corruption within the past time he has spent. He's following that track record. And if we allow him, we have seen his temperament. We know that still, because of the circumstances now, things cannot just happen. But I can tell you, gradually, if we allow him, we'll get there with him. We'll get there with him. As someone elected, first time he has like legitimacy, it's easier for him to enter himself. But the problem was he started with the legitimacy was as a transitional government. Legitimacy as an agreement. You see, even though people say it's not in the constitution, but once you fail the agreement you have, would legitimize you to be a president. Because you had a manifesto, you propaganded from that manifesto, you became a candidate based on that manifesto. You went as opposition, everything you broke, then that's why his even first term was challenging. Because of he's trying to legitimize himself. If he wanted not to struggle, he would just have 3 years. But because of the minute he was greedy to continue, he would struggle with legitimizing himself. That's why he can still be secured. This is the reason why we still have economic. This is the reason he's still trying to keep economic with us, because of he doesn't feel legitimate. He doesn't feel legitimate. Now that's why he's trying to apply now the instrument of dictatorship. Just as I said, when dictators come, because they're already illegitimate, they didn't have a mandate from the people. They forced their mandate. They would use the instruments of dictatorship in order to entrench themselves. For him, because of when he came in, when he was elected, it was legitimate. But the minute he, throw out the promises he gave, all the promises, it's not only about the 3 years. Almost everything he promised failed. He continued to be, to try to legitimize himself. That became a challenge. But during the course of this, just as what happened to dictatorships is, you continue to commit crimes to cover. Now, for a civilian government, what does it mean? For a dictator, what it means, use the same instrument of power, which is the barrel of the gun. The armed forces, the security forces, to entrench you by putting fear. And you go for the journalists, you go for the opinion leaders, you go for people who are influential, who will stand, to defend the people. You go after them. By, again, the same means you induce others to come onto you. But for a democratic system, or that who came through the ballot box, would use corruption to get these people in, transfer them in, induce them, create businesses, pump money, work with the business, corrupt business community, create cabals, and you will end up trapping yourself by committing all these crimes. And because of you have committed crimes of corruption and so on, you don't want people to talk about it. Now you have to bounce on people to silence them. They will start to challenge you. You start to fail because of the projects that you take in where we are not constituted right. They fail. You have people who criticize you, and you start to be unpopular. You start to go against people. The Macky Sall scenario. Macky Sall came popular. Down the line, corruption got to it, and if you follow Senegalese news, now you hear the amount of corruption from the oil. Technically, the forced production of gas. Macky Sall sold it and technically benefit himself and the people around. Senegal technically did not have anything in the gas they produce in the one they shared in Mauritania, because if the president of Mauritania did the same thing, that's why he's in prison. You see, this is the reason why Macky Sall had to jump out of the country. The minute he hand over government, he left his country. For someone who has become a director, a mayor, a minister, minister of interior, one of the most sensitive position, prime minister, campaign manager, speaker of the house, president 2 times, you did not even have the guts to spend the night in that country that you have governed for 12 years. And covered all this position. Just imagine that. That's why we see at the latter part he became a dictator, killing, doing everything. This is the fact about it. That's why we need to speak out, because if we silence, this is where we are going to go. Yeah, we are going to go. That's exactly where this government is taking us. Go and look at the appointments. Anything he does is exactly as Macky Sall did. You thought that he will learn from that? No. Because, you know, people turn dictatorship out of cowards. They lack courage. All these corrupt people lack courage. That's why they are corrupt. Courage is the first virtue you can have. You don't have courage, you cannot have integrity. You cannot be an honest person. You cannot be an upright person. And these people like this, to do the right thing. If we don't speak out, this is where we're going to go. This is exactly what happened in Senegal. You wake up and realize that now we're in dictatorship. Many people later wake up and realize they were in the dictatorship. There's this journalist. He was a media advisor for Yusundur. They call him Sarre Fai. Sarre Fai, some people said I do look like him. He normally does the TFM programs. Sarre was very critical of Usman Sonko, or things that Usman Sonko says, or terming Macky Sall as a dictator, or the Senegalese government being a dictatorship. Until Sarre Fai did not see, could not even, and he called himself a media person, a journalist or intellectual or anything. But because of the biases, because part of the system, he could not see it. He only saw it when Macky Sall decided to try to annul the elections. Then he came out to apologize. At least he had the courage to apologize to Usman Sonko, saying that I got it wrong. Never thought Macky Sall was. But with all the evidence, why didn't you see it? Usman Sonko was not making this up. It's the evidence was out there. For you as an intellectual, I can forgive, as so-called intellectuals. I can forgive this ordinary citizen that did not have time even to think about the next few hours, what's going to happen. Because right now they're thinking about what I am going to eat, what am I going to feed my family now. I forgive those people. But that not you that had the privilege to go to school, to have all the degrees, have the privilege to sit as a media advisor to someone like you and others who said that you could not see the facts. And this is what Gambians, so-called intellectuals, will tell you. If, until this system, someone kick them out, they will come and pretend. Even the brutality of Yaya Jammeh, most of them did not see it, because they were nowhere. But the minute Yaya Jammeh was kicked out, you see these people. The ones who were there, oh, I did not know, as if what was coming from the TRRC was a revelation. It wasn't. Wasn't. For any intelligent Gambian to know that this was going on in the Gambia. Because it was our families being done to. The April 10/11 was televised. Most of other things were televised. November 11 was televised. It went, you call it, I'm using the word televised, but we all know what I mean. It was on the radio. It was reported. And all the things that went on. People went disappearing and all the things. We even had the guy say it. He made the threats and it happened. The prisoners. But the so-called Gambian intellectuals would just want to see it differently. Or it's this diaspora people, or it's the opposition, or it's UDP, they are troublesome. It's the same thing that happened in Senegal. or diaspora bill, or PASTEF. And they will try to label PASTEF, or their MFDC, or their this, or their that. That's why we can be silenced. We can be silent. This is what they're looking for. What is happening now, as I keep on saying, is this. Barrow is in a catch-22 situation. Barrow is in a catch-22 situation. You know, that's why I said, one thing I will never regret, and for the reason I will not regret that, even if I was not alive, is fighting the just cause. So saying that removing Yahya Jammeh, oh why? No. If anybody said that they regret it, they are short-sighted. We are in a better position to improve ourselves than if Yahya Jammeh was still there. I will explain that. Why I will not regret it first. That's the moral thing to do. That's the moral thing to do. It doesn't mean that, even though, I mean, you have disappointments, but does not, I mean, take out that it was the moral thing to do. But to say, why did I say even it's better off? I know when people say better off, people say, oh, the crime rate, the cost of living, fine. I agree on to those people, they have different, because that's, for them, that's what most affect them. But what I'm trying to say is, I'm not ruling that out. Because of that space we created called democracy, I know it's not, at times you look at it and say, oh, we don't know. That is going into the conscience of Barrow. That's why he will struggle to justify trying to run for a third term. I have addressed this, and that program is going to be aired from Freedom. You catch that on there. But after I'll talk about, I don't want to preempt a program already made on another platform here. But just to say you that we have a space to bring about change without going through the violence that we had to go through in order to depose Yahya Jammeh. I am against coup d'etat. I am against any form of violence until it's absolutely necessary to apply that violence to protect lives. Yes. I am against coup d'etat, no buts, no ifs. I will not be supportive of coup d'etat. But I am in support of a resistance movement. I am in support of anything that's possible to deal with the actions, given an equal reaction that would protect lives. That's why I supported PASTEF, everything they did when they were doing it. It was required. If PASTEF did not do that, I think Macky would still be there and Senegal future would have been gone. It takes those sacrifices for these people to be pushed back. But we will not require that because of the space we have here. You see, because of the desperation of Macky, that's why Macky even got to that length. If PASTEF did not, even PASTEF would not thought that Macky would get to that length. Yes, they know that he'll be brutal, but not thought that brutality. But because of Macky knows what's behind him, his fear, and Barrow is the same fear Barrow have. And you think, if I heard people say, oh, then we should assure Barrow, we should encourage him. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. Why would we continue to create precedents, bad precedents for the matter? Oh, Yahya Jammeh, oh, if we let him, he will go. Barrow come do the same thing, oh, we just, let him go. Wherever Barrow goes, we'll go after him. He have committed enough crime for that. If any other Gambians don't have the courage for justice, let them be quiet. Because of that's not going to, wherever Barrow goes, people go after him. And any government that comes and fails to go after Barrow, you will be in the same box with Barrow, because that's the only reason. Because of you are ready to do worse, that's why you not go after Barrow. That's why Barrow did not want to go after Yahya, because every crime Yahya committed in corruption, Barrow have done more than that. And if we allow him, he will do the worst in the human rights violations. This is the common sense on this. Now he doesn't know how to get out of this. He's creating more corruption to oil the engine of politics, creating more positions and everything else, and bringing all these incompetent people into office and everything to survive. How stupid it is. The English says, if you are in a deep hole, try to get out of it. Stop digging. But because of this ignorance, he would keep on digging, thinking that he would get out from the bottom of the ground, knowing that he's going deep down. He will never look for ways to get out of that, because there are so many vested interests now capturing Barrow. And they will bring us to the mistake of Sadauda. The mistakes of Sadauda. But even because for Sadauda was not protecting himself. Sadauda was not scared of being persecuted. No. Why? He had won confidence of Gambians. Gambians wouldn't, and no government would have come in and see it prudent to go after Sadauda. He was the first president of the republic. Not only that, because once you do that, you become unpopular straight on. And even the international community would not allow you, because of his records within the international. How he was admired in many places. You will not want to do it as a popular government, but people around him, they were scared. That's why Jawara cannot find a successor. That's why I said Jawara's case was even better. He cannot find a successor, because any successor he intend, the interest group will come and say no. Hassan Musa, if you understand what Hassan Musa had to do during the rebellion, he was the one acting as a president, and he did it effectively under fire, make it possible for that government to be retained. But they came and just, played it, and Hassan Musa have to be dropped out of cabinet. Bibi Dabo came, the new boy in town, because of obviously the role Bibi Dabo played. He was an intellectual, and all this credit that Jawara saw in him. If you read Foreign Office, I think it's even in this Jawara's book, but there's a Foreign Office dossier that, the reports, the Foreign Office classified documents here, the reports written by ambassadors in the Gambia to their Foreign Office here. You have access to it. The last time I read it in one of my programs, the endorsement that Jawara said about Bibi when he appointed Bibi. 2 times vice president, just as Hassan Musa. Everybody thought Bibi would be a successor. Guess what? The interest group came and against fear of the Bibi. Because of their corruption and everything, Bibi is tribalist, Bibi is this, Bibi is that. What they did not say was Bibi was corrupt. They did not say Bibi was corrupt. They were scared. Oh, he's too rigid. They said he was too rigid. He's not flexible. And they got Jawara in this quagmire of coming out with, I want to go, I don't want to go, I don't know what to do. They have an opportunity to come and prop him up. And guess where? The same people continue, and knowing that obviously the old man is not going to go for another 2 terms. He would not, even if he wants to, it will technically pack out, and we cannot determine who's going to be. Now let's do what? Let's invite the boys. That's how the coup d'etat happened. Yahya Jammeh did not do it alone. It was the PPP that overthrew. You see, that's why I said the mistakes of Jawara. The only time the junta came harsh on Jawara was when they tried to push, because of the international pressure Jawara was in. But the minute they won over the campaign, they relent, and that's why he was so accepted. They accepted it, and Jawara was trusted. That's why Jawara was trusted as well. But Barrow have a problem. Barrow have realized that one thing he wants was to accumulate all this wealth. Greed. It's all about wealth. He was never interested in governance. I don't like to be seen as giving credit to Yaya Jammeh, but I'm talking about facts. Because I know him before he became a president. I know how the critical mind he had. I know how much he read. I can tell you some Gambian intellectual, so-called intellectual, did not read more than Yaya does before even become a president. But I know how corny he is, but how smart he is, again, to get things done or to get things that he wants. To the extent of, I have evidence of that certain Gambian so-called intellectuals have cried in front of Yaya because of Yaya have overwhelmed them. Not knowing that Yaya was just playing them. He have twisted people's hands to come when certain people have doubts to join his government, and touch them to the extent of those people. He was smart. He knows what the guy had interest in something. Whether you agree with him or not, but this guy liked the person. The only time Barrow have a person is to eat. The guy would sit down on a table and eat 3 dishes. To the extent if he doesn't, they try to limit him. They prescribe exercises and everything. He can help himself. He will eat 3 dishes, 2 dishes. At times the same amount of the same thing. He will eat super kanja with malo, he will eat super kanja with nyeleng. And he will have a bowl of ice cream to drown that down. And next minute he wouldn't be able to get up. His doctors are even pissed off with him. That's all he thinks about, and about money. People witness Barrow taking bribes directly. I'll tell you what, Yaya would take bribes, but you dare not in front of anybody give Yaya bribes or give Yaya bribes directly. He will arrest you and deal with you because he will know that that's something you up to. For me to have audacity to name a specific figure being given to Barrow, because I know where that information came from. To have the audacity. For all these years I've advocated, there's not one campaign I've done and find out to be malicious or to be untrue. My integrity is more than that. I won't do it I'm not doing it for anybody else. This is the kind of person we have. Now, he did not, and if you say this, people say, oh, but no. That's not smartness. You don't call that smartness. Short-term gains are not smartness. Smartness is about people that can realize and see, have a vision, and able to build a legacy on that. You know, he was talking about legacy. You see, if you want to understand Barrow, you have to understand the environment Barrow is. And to understand the environment Barrow is, listen to Barrow when he comes out. If you listen to Barrow at the beginning, when he was influenced by Khalifa, he would be trying to capture some of these briefings and come up with these buzzwords, where later on, when he's had some technocrats around him trying to talk about the reforms and this, he will talk about mindset, he will talk about this, talk about that. Now, what does he do? Because now he have most of his non-entity political novices calling some advisors and or so-called intellectual, these things will tell him what he want to hear. That's what he comes out with. Even to entrench himself, he doesn't know. That's why I say this space we have now have given him this thing. Now he have to cross. They have to cross this thing about 2 times. I'm not going to address that here again, probably next time. But if you watch out the next program coming from Freedom that I did with Alaji Salu, have addressed the thing about what it matters for Barrow third term or lack of third term. But I've talked about the other bit that the only time Barrow would stay is, and which is likely as well, but not highly likely, because he had to meet certain conditions for that to be likely. Someone he can trust, that he can, and a system that they can put into guarantee winning an election. Someone he can put in there, guarantee winning an election. They're working on that. but again, someone he can trust that will safeguard him. These are the things he's thinking about. Still, he have no control over the security. That's why you see Nigeria still sending troops. Still, he have no control over the Gambia armed forces. He's still scared of the Gambia armed forces. And he will ever be scared of the Gambia armed forces because he's captured. They make sure that he have never had an influence because he doesn't have the intellectual capacity to understand that. How important it is for the executive to ensure that he have security that he can trust, not to rely on any other thing. He doesn't understand that. See, he is at a point now, he is looking at these things. And now there are other people there. Just ask what happened to Jawara. Oh, no, don't go. Or if you go this, or if you go that. But for him, it's not about those people. If he is guaranteed. And don't be surprised that one day you wake up and hear that Barrow is talking to UDP. Don't be surprised. He doesn't have courage. Don't be surprised one day you wake up to hear that Barrow is going with UDP in order to save himself. What happened to Macky Sall? I'm not saying UDP are going to accept it or what UDP going to do. I don't know that. But I am basing this on analysis. If you want to understand Barrow, you have to understand how Macky Sall ended up where he is. Macky Sall technically wanted to do a deal with Pastef. But Pastef were smart enough, knowing that, look, yeah, I have the upper hand here. You have zero these things. We are not. All we have to do is, yeah, we'll be civil. But we are not going out there to say that we are not going to persecute you. Personally, we have nothing personal against you. But the laws will be. The laws will be. That's why Macky did not spend the night. The minute he was technically still just fresh and he took a flight and never came back. This is why we need to understand where this is going. Now, this is where, Adam Barrow is. All this thing about retirement home and everything. Yeah, partly it's his idea, partly it's those people that want to take over from him. Now, Mohammed Jah and others, where we'll build a $2 million mansion, $3 million mansion, $1 million mansion, will safeguard you, will make sure this, you have this, okay, we go and put a bill in parliament, do this, justify it, do this, you'll be paid this much, because they know he wants money. You will pay 80% of the executive salary for left of life. We will pay for this, we will pay for that. Then he can get away with the trouble of crossing the two times. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. But the others who said no. The Lamin Cham and others know that there will be nobody. They will campaign for, oh no, Barrow for third time, but Barrow forever. Just as we had people we are saying for Yaya Jammeh. This happened. But again, it's about us Gambians. Where does that leave us? That's why I said we need to speak out. We need to act. I'll express on that later. This is where he is. And I can tell you right now. Now, the reason I'm saying that, because exactly, he's looking at all this. He's now realizing that that's why they have a new cabinet, and you see how they put that cabinet, who are the people they put in there, is about the elections. Now we have our census data be dealt with in Senegal. Some wise people are looking into it. But one thing we can do is, it's not about the opposition alone, citizens. We need to make sure we safeguard our democracy. Make sure we have a credible elections, and whoever comes out of that, we have salvaged our democracy, and from that democracy we can bring about change until we have our desired governments. That's what democracy provides. And that's why the issue about this is about democracy, the two-term and everything. That debate, as I said, we can have it next program that we did with Freedom. But the interesting part here is, because he's looking at all this, the project with Mohammed Jah and others might fail, because now Mohammed Jah had the upper hand. If you understand the cabinet is APRC and Mohammed Jah's cabinet. I can name you ministers: the Minister of Trade, the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Defense, the Minister of and what do you call it? Minister for Civil Service Matters. All those ministers are Mohammed just minister, and the others are APRC and the others are Barrow. Few are Barrow family members, just like this niece Rahi Manjang, John Manjang, and few others. The vice president is Mohammed just candidate. He and so is there. That's why he have the upper hand. It was him and DG So, and he over. Unfortunately, DG So became ill. Now he's more about rehabilitation than, and Mohammed they have a prominence now. And because of Barrow likes money, and the leverage from So was money and security. That's why So had leverage before. So had leverage because of money and security. Mohammed was about money. And now you can see why he managed to put a defense minister in position. We have to understand this dynamics. Now, Barrow have got to this now. If he's looking at, okay, now they say, okay, bring your brother-in-law to be the IGP, even to be more active, proactive to deal with the opposition and bring out the laws to shut everybody or anybody down, especially the opposition UDP and other critics, shut them down. Even the online now, let's put this cyber media bill and get the Ben Suarez and others from afar. Because of Barrow would, and I said this, if Barrow wants, let him just put a civil case on me. I pay my this thing and go and answer the civil case. Civil case. Let Barrow, I don't want him even to come to UK. Let him sue me in the Gambia on a civil case matter. I'll go and answer the courts. He dare not. He dare not. But that's why they will need a cyber bill so that they can put it on a criminal footing, so that they can. I can tell you, and even a competent court cannot, convict us, if you know what you know. But obviously, he will have influence on the courts, or if the courts, came out right, he will delay. What they do, they will delay it as much as possible. And I cannot afford to be in the Gambia for 2 years, 3 years running to the courts. This is what they're doing to Madi Jabati. Even if he have to travel now, he probably can't. Part of the bail condition, I don't think they will give him his passport. And that's what they're going to do to Ibrahim Diba and others. That's what they did to Jan Sabo. Luckily, he's an elected officer, he can travel. But his trial will just be dragged forever. Yahya Jammeh did the same thing to many people. He can win the case will not be had, justice denied. But because of this now, interesting enough, he looked at all this. His situation is there. He's anticipating, and there are certain things I cannot say because that will lead to some sources. But I can tell you with evidence that some certain things he tried, we know. Certain things he tried, we know. And this is where Ahmed Ba comes in. And I tell you, if you underestimate Ahmed Ba to a power, Ahmed Ba believes that he can do it for Barrow. To the extent now, Ahmed Ba have done put a proposition for Barrow. Now he's negotiating with the similar entities or the same entities that gave Macky Sall a property in Morocco. He's trying to negotiate around the same location where Macky Sall is to get a property for Barrow. For in case there's a need. That's what I'm saying. It's now that Barrow is thinking about these things. In 2018, some of these people who that captured him, they were looking at Senegal. And someone like Wage went to the extent of trying to introduce Barrow to a Saraholi family, to take a wife from the family. a prominent Soninke family in Senegal, Dakar, thinking that, oh, that will cement your relationship with Dakar. But with the Pastef and other things, everything have changed. Yes, obviously, Barrow said no in 2018. Barrow said no. For what reason, I don't know. He said no. But I can tell you that they take part, and the family is even known to us. But right now, this is how the things are looking, because he is now, he has to cross this. Now the two-term thing is problematic. I'm telling you, it's problematic for him to justify another day. But again, handing over is problematic because of, go and look at secession. Secession, any country, go and see how difficult it is. The latest one, Mauritania, Angola, and others. I'll give you an example. Why do you think Rawlings succeed? It's the amount of political leverage, the mastering, the plan. Rawlings had a plan. He's a visionary. He had an exit strategy. No one forced him to exit. He knew when it was right and how to do it and make sure. You think Ghanaians are stupid, did not go for Rawlings? No, Rawlings knew what he was saying. Barrow cannot achieve that. He could have done that. Rawlings, there's no Ghanaian government, no credible Ghanaian information will come out to point to properties owned by Rawlings outside the country or within the country which are not reasonable that he can achieve. Apart from his bungalow, his farms, there's nothing. His children were educated within the public system. Today, some of them are serving as legislators. The wife was a modest woman, have never been flamboyant, was an intellectual who has served the public sectors. There's a difference. Some Ghanaians disliked him for all the crimes he have committed. But many Ghanaians reasoned to think that, look, I think he have done well in many areas, and it's best for interests to let sleeping dogs lie, but not in the case of Barrow. I mean, he would not even start to understand that. He would not be arrogant at this time, keeping on trying to this thing. He would have, if he was smart enough, his exit strategy would have started before the elections and after the election and so on. Rawlings did it to the extent of he doesn't care even whether his party win or not. You think if Rawlings wanted the party to win, they would not have won as an incumbent? No, he knows these are all conditions that he had to meet. And that's what saved him. Today, his party is going into government, coming out of government. Tell me any leader that have gone into multi-party and leave power and still have their power. This thing. Go and look at Senegal. From the PDS, Macky Sall party, I can tell you, next election you will see the evidence. Sadada for 30 years, we saw the evidence, and other parties. This is what we have to understand, but Barrow doesn't have it. Then it is interest for us Gambians to do something about this. That's why I said you need to speak out. And the opposition have to be responsible. The entire opposition I'm talking about. I am not talking about, look, we have a mainstream opposition, we don't have an anti-establishment opposition yet. This is the fact. Can we have one? Yes, it's possible. But it's not an easy task. We have to work with what we have. And if we really want anything different, we have to then work very hard. You see, I don't like giving reference to people to think I am overpraising what Pastef have achieved. What Pastef have achieved, they did not invent the wheel. But what they did is successfully implemented strategies for an anti-establishment party to kick out an incumbent system, which have never been done anywhere. What they did was not new. I have the evidence. I have written a blueprint that before Pastef was well known. I've shared it with people, and I can tell you most of what they did, in what would be the difference is because I was thinking of Gambia. But there, technically, everything was similar. of how to come about with anti-establishment before even I know much about what positive is about. The situation analysis of our politics, the history of our politics, and the possibilities of anti-establishment and the strategy of what an anti-establishment can these things. The strength of the other opposition parties and the weaknesses of other opposition parties, and where an anti-establishment can enter in. It's easily said than done. It's easily written down. It takes men and women of courage who are ready to sacrifice. It's not an easy task. Because it's not only the brunt that will come from the establishment, because the entire establishment will be against you. You are anti-establishment. What we have today, to put in brief, is we have a mainstream system. Now, we have to understand there are two things here. If you want to, and you know, the mainstream system, in fact, again, as an anti-establishment agent, you have a role to play to your advantage. What I'm saying here is, what makes it possible for positive too, because there was a role played by others to create an environment for an anti-establishment to flow, create a very conducive environment for positive to take advantage of. I'll give you an example of this. If Abdoulaye Wade was successful for another term, Macky Sall would not have been. If Macky Sall have not been, positive would not have been. I'll put it that way. Just as you would say, if George Bush was not successful, Barrow would not have been. If you understand how Barrow came in within a mainstream of the Democrats, but because of what the overspending of the American thing in Iraq and all those wars and everything else, and with his anti-war message, he not that he is technically anti-war, but I mean this. When he opposed Iraq as a new entry to Senate, that was enough to be different, because the entire Democratic Party apparatus were for the war, Republican were for the war. He came as an anti-establishment and other things, and then these are the situation. But let's bring back to Senegal and to get to Gambia. Is the minute the rupture started when they denied Abdoulaye Wade at that time, and civil society played a bigger role in doing that. You see, the Yanamar, without the Yanamar became the catalyst for Macky Sall to be. That's why Macky Sall, as a mainstream, had to go to the Yanamar headquarters, and technically after he declared his candidature. Yes, there are other factors, but I can tell you that rupture, and mainly one thing that they voted against Macky Sall was, against Abdoulaye Wade, was that he wants to pass on this to his son, and that's where the opposition came. It was not about the economy. It was not about foreign affairs. It wasn't debate about anything else. It was about stopping him. And Yanamar was a catalyst out in the streets, not Macky Sall. Macky Sall and all that. And obviously, then the mainstream political parties came together, and they went through the elections to show how Abdoulaye Wade was popular, or he managed. Macky Sall technically had just over 30%. Just over 30%. But interesting, the rest of the establishment could have gone and support Abdoulaye Wade. Abdoulaye Wade was a generous executive. I'm not saying it's right. The generosity was the government coffers. But I'm saying what had happened. Macky Sall could have promised anything, but he have nothing. You know, someone promised you something, if I become a president, I will do this for you. You might think, the other one saying that I am the president, I can do this for you. But why then the people did not? And we know that that entire establishment were the entire establishment were greedy. They're selfish. Guess what? The people. You see, that's why I said we have leverage over political parties. They realize that the Senegalese people, even because of the votes, whereas, this thing, that's why Wada did not have an overwhelming majority. And I can tell you, there's no free and fair elections in Africa. There's not. There's a kind of a level of fairness that then the opposition can capitalize in being very proactive and win over. But these people had influence, and the rest of the opposition realized, look, this is a kind of a rupture. The people we have to go with Maki here. Probably if they have gone with Wada, if they have gone with Wada, I tell you the people will stay with Maki. The leverage was with Maki because of Maki was seen as an anti-establishment. He was not an anti-establishment per se, but the position he held, based on what Yana might have cultivated, that he came and harvested. He came and harvested. Now, in the situation of Gambia, that's where we are now. In politics, it's about strategy. Now, I can tell you one thing. The difference with Senegal here is, if Gambia did not manage to bring about change in 2016, I'm not saying that we're going to achieve a meaningful change. But if we have the same party or the same NPP, Gambia will be destabilized at the next time. And don't say that I am wishing that to Gambia. Don't say, I am telling you based on my little knowledge and my little understanding. That's what I'm analyzing here. I'll come to that. Now, this is why it was possible for Macky Sall to come in. Macky Sall, instead of using that capital of the people, that leverage, knowing that actually it's not these political actors just coming to me, but I can tell you, if just ask, okay, the difference here, you see how Sonko was certain to say that, look, you are not coming to join me because of we are going to share a cake here. We are not coming to share cakes here. We are coming to make a cake. And supporting us or endorsing us does not mean that. He boldly said that because he was confident that people are supporting them. And PDS endorsing him or not would have happened. And I can tell you they did not cut a deal. Because PDS are just wishing that down the line there will be goodwill where Pastef will let them run some of their parliamentarians. Because PDS knew that they're not going to win an election. PDS knew that they were looking for political leverage. That they would have gone with Macky Sall if Macky Sall was the candidate. They realized that the position have shifted. The people are with Pastef. Now they will take gamble with Pastef. But because of Macky Sall did not do that. Instead, he thought that he has to be thinking that smart, calculating, going to dismantle all the political parties. That's why I said that his move by dismantling all the political parties, he went for the PDS. Almost got most of them behind him. The Samuel Sa, the Baldes, almost everybody who matters in PDS. And incarcerate Karim. Went for the PS, what was left of the PS, went after them. Then went for, the rest of the opposition induced them come, and the field was open. Now, Pastef became the official opposition. Pastef would not have been opposition, it would take them longer as an anti-establishment because of Senegalese the political awareness is a little bit more grander in Senegal than the Gambia. It's easier to do these things, replicate it. But again, there's an event. If you know how to apply these things, we haven't. It's possible even to do it faster than Senegal. There are other leverages we have that, there are other conditions that an anti-establishment can use in the Gambia and this thing. But let me just give you an example. That's KMC, BAC. If you know how to capture numbers to capture within there, strategy to apply there to capture those numbers, the rest is, just try to, and this is what Passive did. They understand the electoral map of Senegal, and they just made sure they had little inroads in certain areas that they would never win. They did not invest much in those, but they just tried to be strategic in trying to get some youth votes. And the rest, they invested in the Linger and other areas that it came out, and that's why they won. Now, in the case of Gambia, the opposition, as I said, we have a mainstream. Either within the mainstream, they take a posture, because none of the mainstream are anti-establishment, they take a posture of anti-establishment. What that means is their strategies are aligned with an anti-establishment. They are proactive, they know how to advocate, they know how to win over the people. Failing that would be a strategic alliance. There are many alliances. People just go with the loose word coalition. There are many strategic alliances that can happen. But that's unfortunately. But what I'm saying is it's to our interest. First, a credible elections. Why the strategic alliance is? You see, strategic alliance can it will bring in many things. That's why it's not only political parties looking for another political party to come in. No. Political parties can get strategic alliances just as Yanama became a strategic alliance to Macky Sall. Even though it became by default, it wasn't by design. Macky Sall did not design that. By default, he realized it and he captured it. Because many mainstream were afraid to ally themselves with Yanama because they were scared of being prosecuted for the action Yanama was taking. But as I said, there are times that confrontation is necessary. There are times they are necessary. This is where, again, political parties can think of strategic alliances. As I said, not only look for a coalition, but again, a coalition can work. And there can be a different forms of coalition. In the opposition, let's stop opposing each other first. Let's understand a strategic alliance of opposition. Because it's to our interest. Because strategic alliance of opposition is for what first? For sustenance of our democracy. Because if you have an incumbent that is so much frustrated to the extent of he wants to, discredit democracy completely, then it's to your interest as opposition. I'm not talking of those suitcase opposition. I'm not talking about the Maifatis, the guy that robbed all those young people saying that he's going to take them to America. I keep on forgetting his name. The last time he inboxed me saying that he wants to have a conversation with me. You think I am those that would call you out and have a conversation with you? If I call you out, I don't need to have a conversation with you. If I have to have a conversation, I have a conversation with you because I know you are not genuine opposition at all. Batil and others, I'm not talking about them. And there are more will come out pretend to be opposition. We all understand this game now. I'm talking about credible opposition. It's to our interest to make sure our democracy is salvaged. Then part of that democracy salvation is the competency of our elections. It's to our interest. From there on, whatever alliances you need to do, whatever coalition we need to do, a different form of coalition. We Senegal, we keep on seeing different form of coalition, political parties. But once they say that they're going to join a government party, they are not a coalition. They are just a bunch of opportunists. These are things that we need to think about as doable. And why we need to think about and do this is for our people. As I said, the situation right now is there for our people. That country, the way it's going is not sustainable, and that's where I want to come out last. And when I noted down, actually it was meant to be in the middle, but I realized as I was going that will come out last. It's not because of the street. I think why I think it should be coming up last is it's difficult to deal with. You see, why I am okay. I'll tell you, I'm a critic of the PPP for many reasons. Growing up, I was within an environment where very critical opinions were, and I can tell you from the left, I grow up around people that believe in communism. Yeah, part of the Communist Party. Many people will not know that it existed in the Gambia. People who were in the Politburo of the communists, people who were going to Russia for attending the communist these things. But again, I was around young people who were studying outside, coming in and going to Foro Bay, going to other universities outside, and so on and so forth, mostly African universities, and they had very critical views, and all their views asked anti-establishment and the left, and some of them were civil servants for that matter, And as a young man, if you grow up around that environment, you have this critical and you will anti-establishment, and most of the time, yes, it wasn't rational. It's just spitting out the things that you hear. But that doesn't mean that most of the time too, it wasn't right. But what I said was I was too harsh. What I'm trying to say, I was too harsh with the PPP. But growing up, not only too harsh, that's why information is very important. In fact, I was prejudiced. I was prejudiced against the PPP. Anything PPP, I could not touch. And I will blame everybody that belongs to PPP or whatever it is to be corrupt without evidence. And I cannot see anything good in what they did. But as we grow, get educated, started to get real interest, at a very early age for that matter. I keep on giving this example. I think it was the budget of 1982. I think it's 82. Sirif Sehuba Sisi, may his soul rest in peace, gave the budget speech. It was in Ramadan. I remember that. I was at a friend's house, and this time, because of Ramadan, the speech was given in the evening. That's why I remember it's Ramadan. And at a friend's house, I said, I need a radio, this budget speech. And my friend was surprised. Why do you, what's important about the budget speech? But because of my interest in politics at that time. And I keep on telling you, my interest in politics is not becoming a politician. My interest in politics because of I care about social issues, and I know that it takes political decisions to solve those social issues. But I don't have interest to become a politician, and I'll never become a politician. I don't think so. You just said never, but I'm not interested. But saying that, when I listen to the budget speech, and I always remember this as well, most of the people around, because most of them are, our parents and so who were not educated, what they're asking was, Lunyo Yoka, what's going to be increased? That the Yoka Malo, that the Yoka Dulin, that the and yes, for them, budget speech is Lanyo Yoka, Lanyo Wani. But this is the first time. Why it's still there is it's the first time, I don't know for what reason, I took an interest. And I started to listen. From the introduction, the greetings, and the finance minister and Sirif Sehuba Sisi started to explain about transformation. And that speech, he talked about Japan after the war and start giving comparisons. And even that's the first time I heard about Singapore. And then Singapore was not what it was, but he was saying this is where Singapore want to go. That was really saying things happening. And started to explain, look, the decisions we have to take have to be difficult to get us out of this. Started to explain the global, the situation in the, economics. I didn't comprehend much, but I can pick and understand where it's going. Okay, this is what matters. What happened other places, what is likely to happen, and we have to look up to people that did this, and that's where it went. And and Bakari later on, and other ministers came and so on. But what I'm trying to say, I've seen a lot of things that the PPP have done. But again, the failure, a lot, I can tell you, I was not around when the central bank was this thing, but look, how many countries in West Africa had their central bank then? And the currency, our currency. I can tell you, I went to Guinea-Conakry, people were accepting Dalasi. People were accepting Dalasi, knowing that the Dalasi can still be useful. Go to Liberia, people were accepting some traders. I'm not saying everywhere, legal tender, some traders who accept the Dalasi because they know that they can interact with other people that the Dalasi was stable than their currencies. The CFA, we were beating the CFA. We were up not with the pound the dollar. But again, understanding our population growth, that our population growth from independence or before independence, but especially from independence, over 5.5% on migrants. People coming from richer countries, supposedly bigger economies, let's put it, bigger economies. Coming from Ghana. Most of our teachers become Ghanaians, Nigerians, coming for greener pastures in the Gambia. Guineans, Sierra Leoneans, and others, they have a bigger economy, they have resources and everything. But for them, life was more possible. And seeing other things that were possible. And so many other things. Today, the social security we have, and many other things we had. But again, we had agriculture development banks, we have commercial development banks, all these things were created. Agricultural development bank, commercial development bank, and we had the IBAs, to give advice for indigenous businesses. We had so many other institutions created. The tourism work was created. Tourism was technically created, and it became, in West Africa, we were better known for tourism than any other country, and the evidence of that is going to countries like Scandinavia, see amount of Gambians or the time Gambians arrived and how most of them were influenced because of the tourism age and other things. We had our transit trade because of what the liberal policies we had and other things, but gradually we lost everything and it's got worse. What have this government have introduced to say that they are creating everything we own is being sold off. I'm not talking about telecoms. Gamtel is in the process, and unless certain intervention comes either from the international community, from pressure from the within, Mohamed Jai is going to take over Gamtel. Nawek, the reason they put Nani Juwara as the minister, and he have already started to present that in cabinet, is to get Nawek away. Who is he going to? I don't know yet. But don't be surprised, will be someone who will be given handsome kickback to Barrow. And before Barrow goes, if we are not careful, Nawek will go. And I can tell you, Nawek being the way it is, Barrow is a big contributor to it. That's another program. But you look at our taxes and everything, there's nothing done for the average Gambian to be better off. And every contract or any project they take up to, most of it is about what they get from it. From the Banjul project, which we support that Banjul need to have the proper one, where that we spend over $50 million, we could have seen something far better. Not what we have seen, because of the invoices. Inflated invoices and orders. The OIC contract, we still want to see the audit reports because we know we could have something more better. The $32 million given to Nawek. Within 3 years, Nawek have been pumped with $300 million. $300 million. $100 million could have provided sufficient energy, independent, sufficient energy for Gambia. 100, which NAWEC needed 75 megawatts, I think, if I get it right. If they had 100, would have, I mean, they would have this thing they need for enough energy. I know, even though they are estimating 150 megawatts, 100 million would have given them that. They would have other 200 million to do other things. Why is not happening? Because of the corruption in many ways, and Barrow is part of it. Now, with all this procurement NAWEC doors, it's entirely of corruption. With car power paying kickbacks to this thing, with Senegal, I mean, doing a deal with Senegal because of the influence of Macky Sall. Now we are, Kotu power station is kaput. Our energy independence is nil. We are dependent on Senegal, almost 30 kilowatts. Car power probably 25 kilowatts. The new Brikama station is technically going kaput. Within the short term, this thing. I mean, what else? The energy here and coming to Jara, coming to Brikama, it's Senegal. It's no OMVG. OMVG have not started, Sambagulu Dam have not started generating energy. And even if it start generating energy, it's not going to come to Gambia overnight. It had to go through many sources to get to the Gambia. These are things we need to know. Then the condition of our people, standard of living and everything, is because of the failure of these government policies. It's policy problem, leadership. Because the government doesn't care. They will put someone, imagine agriculture, not only about the investment, but who is in charge of our agriculture. For God's sake, it's not about rivalry or anything. It's cheaper to learn from other people's mistakes. It's cheaper to learn from other people who have experimented do it and be successful than to be experimenting things that, and this is not even experimenting. Just go and look at 2 months. The energy, the Senegalese agriculture minister. Go and look at in 2 months the energy of the Senegalese infrastructure minister. Things they put in right. Go and see in 2 months the energy of the Senegalese infrastructure minister. This is the quality of people that we need, and we have them. Hey, per population, there's no Senegal or no other country have more than we have. If we have the leadership and the government right, they are all over the place. You'll be surprised. Go to many organizations. You find Gambians leading them. Many in infrastructure, in anything you think of. We cannot get people like our Minister of Agriculture, Demba Sabali, because Barrow doesn't care. It's about political reward. Because of what he went out there, to betray his party, to go and campaign on tribal cards. That's enough to give him the Minister of Agriculture. When serious governments like Senegal considered someone because of his expertise and give him the Minister of Agriculture, experts giving the Minister of Trade, Trade and Industry. They are not passive because of they know that they need these people to run the country. And in a nutshell, in the taxes and everything else we consider that will make the things better for our people, it's not been considered by Barrow government. Do you know why? I keep on telling these people, if Pastif mistakenly try to deviate, you will see the Senegalese people will come hard on them more than they come this, because their legitimacy and everything support is based on those people. That's why if we are strategic enough, we can, any political party that came into government, we can hold them accountable. Because what that means that we see Gambia when we hold things accountable. If we continue this way, imagine that the government cancelled allowances. It's already passed in Parliament. Cancel the allowances for civil servants, housing and transport. Nurses, these are nurses and others. But they can spend on anything they want. They can borrow more in the local market. They can borrow international market to do things they want to do. Do you know why? Because I keep on saying this, and I keep on telling, I keep saying this because Gambians are not electing them. Gambians are not electing them. If the people had power, this would not be the case. The people had power, I can say the government would not have ignored not to increase the allowances of nurses and doctors and others. Civil service. Yes, because always, and we have seen evidence, and evidence, a bulk of it, that they will register as much as possible. Now they have been xenophobic. Ahmad was telling us about, oh, the Senegalese are doing the cement trade, Senegalese are this, but when it's time to election, he goes around and register them. We know what they do. Again, they know that we are divided. They can divide us. Within the opposition, they can divide us. They can divide us, among tribes. They can divide us amongst opposition, to the extent of we spite our nose, cut off our nose to strike our face. And next day after election, we start to regret. Why didn't we not agonize ourselves to win elections, to hold the systems accountable? They know that they can divide us to continue to empower the security forces that are not reformed, to be brutalizing people that would dare stand up to challenge them. They would continue to empower the judiciary to corrupt the influence and corrupt the judiciary from the Chief Justice so that they will get the verdict they want. You know, that's why I see Gambians celebrating the small wins. I'm not saying they don't celebrate, but be careful. Let it not be an endorsement that our judiciary is impartial. There are so many corruption reported about our judiciary. And what do you think? That if they are corrupt in that manner, what if the executive really needs something from them? Now we have now seen how many, the same government that saying they're going to Gambianize the judiciary. Now we have now seen mercenary judges. I'm not calling them mercenary judges, sorry, but this is the terminology we used to use. We are waiting to see the evidence, how those judges would perform. But we have seen foreign judges being imported again. Can't we give incentive to the people on the bar? Many Gambians who have the experience to be on the bench. Why don't we create incentives for them? No, because of even the Chief Justice property has been taken by Barrow. We don't care about that. They will do anything to keep themselves. And if they are confident that they can manipulate the systems, manipulate Gambians, they will continue to do what they do. And that's what they learn from Macky Sall. But one thing they don't learn from Macky Sall, and they don't believe that is going to happen, is Gambians can be smart enough to avoid that and get them out. But they don't learn again. Jammeh tried it, and we did it before Senegal, and we took Jammeh out. It's possible. And finally, to say that people who say, oh, why I said we have to continue to speak out. Some people say, oh, that. Some people tell me, another day sona. No, it's not about those sona or not, but or you don't get tired. If you believe in something, you have to invest in it. If Gambia was a business, obviously, we are smart enough to know that we have to liquidize and go. It's not a business. It's a duty for us. Some people think that, no, it's a lost cause. No. Even Rwanda was not a lost cause, even though they went through what they went through. Sierra Leone was not a lost cause, they went through what they went through. Liberia was not a lost cause, they went through what they went through. Still wasn't a lost cause. Some citizens believed, leaders believed that the country have to be salvaged. Gambia, we haven't got to that. We should not get to that. And by speaking out, standing up, working together, would avoid us, prevent that to happen. And if you care for people, we will know that politics matters. If we think that social issues or this thing or that, any problems you think of Gambia, to solve it, we have to have our politics right. To the extent of where you're going to be buried. Many communities today don't have graveyards because they sold every property. And you see the audacity of people like Ahmad Bat saying that when he have already done that. Because that's the audacity they have. Because they believe that Gambians would believe whatever they said. That's why they will bring the Dr. Ceases, the Sabalis and others, and pay them money to spew that rubbish to us, thinking that we will believe it. Now it's for us who believe that that's not right, for us to come out and stand to join the story. And finally, many people close to me will tell me, you're so optimistic. You're so optimistic. When we were advocating for Jammeh, I remember when it was so, many people discouraged. During the Kalama revolution and everything in May, April, 2026. People thought it's a done deal. To the extent of the entire executive of UDP arrested. People thought it's a done deal. I was advocating, said no, it's not. To the extent of people that really cared about me used to call me, say, be careful. You know, people will quote you that you said this is going to happen, or this is going to happen, or you do actually. I said, yeah. I said, anything I said, I do qualify it. If anybody misconstrued these things, that's for them. But I am not a fortune teller. I am not a fortune teller. What I do to analyze. And I said, if this is done, of that or that and that, that will be the result. That's what I do. And I can stand to today, any VAR, if you are fair to me, you said, no, this is actually what he meant. But if you want to be economical with the truth, to tarnish an image, you'll do. But it's not that I have knowledge. It's not that I have experience. It's not about anything else. It's believing the fact that the truth will always prevail. At times to say, why you optimistic to think it's going to be soon when people are discouraged? Because I learned from experience that things happen when you less expect it. Because that's a logical explanation. People think if you say that, oh, because of the miracle things that happen, no. Everything in life have a expiring date. In politics, it's called implosions. It will implode. And if you have a little bit of understanding, you know when things would likely to implode, and knowing that there are other factors that are out of control of Barrow, out of control of Yaya Jammeh, out of control of Macky Sall. That's why that implosions happen. It's not only your strength, your efforts, and everything is necessary. Even your faith is necessary. Your faith is not even. Your faith is necessary. But let's put faith, on that one side. What I mean, faith in one side, what people understand. Oh, Yala could do, because at times people use it lazily. I'm not saying faith is important, but let's put it like that. Certain things are not in your control. It's just that because of, if you are not, as I would say again, if you're not part of it, you are not bound to win it. You have to be part of it to win it. You have to be there to benefit from it. That's why you have to be proactive and do everything. And there are factors that will come into play. That's not within our control. That's not within our control. But what we can do is to influence part of that, or most of it, to take control of some part of it, enough to make a change. When COVID came, it provided a lot of different things. I can tell you one thing, even the Panama accounts, just the Panama accounts presenting itself, it has deposed governments in certain countries. The Panama accounts. Gambia could have done that. with the billion Amadou Samba have there. Other factors in the supply. The change in Senegal is a factor that Barrow did not have over. We didn't have this thing over. Now it's an opportunity for us to use. How? For instance, one example is, and that's why I keep on saying, just a measure that this new Senegalese government took, it's to suspend fish license, and they have dividend. Now, Senegalese are not complaining of lack of fish or the cost of fish. Now, why our opposition not taking that? Go to, I mean, these are things we need. That's why I said, if you want to be an anti-establishment or a mainstream political party on an anti-establishment footing or position, these are things you have to consider. And say it categorically clear that our party come into government, we are going to, in the first week, we are going to suspend all the fisheries license. And we are going to renegotiate everything, and this would be our priority. Priority A, B, C, and D. Our fish stocks to be sustainable. 2 would be the availability of fish landing to the country. 3 would be the value chain. This thing to create jobs for people. Simple. 3 points. Simple for anybody. And different languages will comprehend it. You think people don't care about that? These are examples. That's why I said there's hope. It was technically just over 6 weeks. Jammeh with all the might and everything, that situation was 6 weeks, everything changed. Jammeh was out. I know Barrow would take credit for that he just came 6 weeks and took Jammeh out, but we all know the facts. It was many other factors that led us to that. Thank you very much, guys. I wanted to talk about a lot of other things, but this is what happens. But I can tell you that they are planning to increase the airport tax. If I have time, we'll discuss that here or on Freedom. They are planning to increase it to 25%. This is an example again. They don't consider the productive market. This thing, they have already killed us and they're killing more. And you know that money is not reflecting properly, into our budget. We see who is benefiting. The company that came and give kickbacks to get this license to do this stupid exercise. We all know the Maligan investigation have proved that. The National Audit Office have proven that. But they are even going to increase it. I would say this is imposing tax on water bottles. That's another, it's a long debate, but I say all this are geared towards other things. The lack of investments and all these things are factors, but we cannot have that conversation in more than in 2 hours. Even I didn't want to stay that long, but we'll continue speaking out, and I said let's continue to speak out and work together. And as the opposition have to stop to be opposition against each other, and we can work together in many ways and build coalition of different types. It doesn't have to be this one or that one. It can be many other different ones, but genuinely we should engage each other to salvage our country. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.